How's it going, guys? So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to design this character you're seeing right here. It's really cool and it's fairly simple. If you want to get the project file for this, it is in the description for $1. Everybody on Patreon, you'll be getting that project file for free. If you don't know about the Patreon, you get exclusive tutorials, tons of project files in the month. I also release 10 procedural materials a month. That's in collaboration with Syncretic 3D. So we have the iridescent pack, the wood pack, the glitch pack, and coming this month we're getting the metal pack. So that all is on the Patreon. You can get that in the description. You can also get 50% off on my recent product, which is 100 looping animation project files you can use for your freelance work, anything you want. You can check out all that stuff linked in the description. All right, so let's get into the tutorial. All right, so the first step is getting actually kind of your base mesh so that we can actually distort it and do really cool stuff with it. So we're gonna go to Mixamo. Now this is a service provided by Adobe, but you do not need an Adobe paid account. It's completely free. It's a really cool service. So you can just sign up for free. It's super simple. It's really quick. And once you're in, you get a pick at a bunch of really cool, very high quality characters, but we're going to use their sort of base mesh, which it's this guy right here, but I believe he is located on page on page 2 right here. It's called mannequin right here. So we'll pick him and then click on over to animations and look up what kind of animation you want. So I'll just type in looking and I'll pick one of him just looking around. So we'll say, just to demonstrate, we'll get this one right here, looking down. And then you click download, and then all this default stuff, you'll just keep it there and click download. You're gonna want the FBX. All right, so we're gonna open up a new Blender file here, and in your Eevee settings, make sure you are in Eevee, turn on bloom, and turn on screen space reflections right there. So you'll go to File, Import, and you're going to import your FBX. So right here, oops, that's STL. Go to File, Import, and we'll get FBX, and then we'll go to my desktop where he's located. Looking behind is the one I selected. Clicking that. Wait a minute, and there he is. And if I press play, he's doing his thing, looking around. And then mine stops at frame 122, so I'll just bring it to 123 to be safe. 1, 2, 3, enter, and now right down here is when you select your frames, and now I have my whole play, and I think it's a perfect loop if I just watch it here. Yeah, it's a perfect loop, but that doesn't really matter for this design. Okay, so Shift A, I'm gonna go ahead and get my camera, so I'm gonna position my screen where I like it, Control Alt 0, snap it to view. I'm gonna go to my camera settings, and I'm gonna give my focal length 100 millimeters. I like a really flat camera, so we'll go maybe to right here. Actually might look good. Snap that to view. And then I'm going to hit G and middle click to zoom it in. The reason I'm setting up my camera now because I want to know what part of the body I won't be seeing. So if I press play, okay, this looks good. So looks like from here down we don't need it. So I'm going to click him, hit tab, and then to select all the faces, I'm going to click this button right here, toggle X-ray, click face select, and then I'm going to hit B for box select, and then do this. X faces, and now we have deleted the faces we don't need, thus eliminating the amount of heavy lifting your computer is going to have to do once we continue on this process. So now we have this. Let's go ahead and make that really colorful material that's going to go underneath the sort of animated shell that we're going to be making later. So let's hop on over to shading, and I'm going to go to hit 0 to go to my camera view. So far we just have this mannequin material. You can just go to the materials and hit negative on that. We're going to click new. I'm going to switch on over to the rendered view. I'm going to delete the principled, and I'm going to get an emission node. So emission, plug this into the surface right here, right there. Now we have that. I'm going to get a color ramp. We get our color ramp here and plug the color into the color, and then we'll get a wave texture. Now we have our wave texture. If you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, you're going to want to hit Control T here on the wave texture. So Control T, Control T, and hit the object coordinate. That's super important. And now we have this. I'm going to hit Control A and apply scale just in case we haven't. All right. So let's go ahead and bring that scale pretty drastically down, something like this. And then we'll go from linear to constant. So now we have this. I'm going to go ahead and start to color this. So I'm going to go with a blue, purple, and green. So I'm going to go with this blue. I'm going to make this guy purple. So bring it up, kind of a purple, and we're going to go ahead and put in a green in our scene as well. And then we'll make sure that everything is roughly the same size. So that looks good. And then we'll go play with the scale some more. Something like this. And then you bring up the strength, he'll start to glow. So he's too straight up and down. I don't really like that. I'm going to go and bring up the distortion till he's like something like this. And then for the animation, we'll just rotate 360 degrees. So let's do that. I'm going to bring up my timeline and get the timeline here. Go to the beginning. I'm going to go back one frame to frame 0 so we don't have a duplicate frame. I'm going to right click on the Z, insert keyframe. And if you don't see the keyframe, click on the mapping node, then you'll see it. And then go to the very end and then type in 360. 360, right click, insert keyframe. And that makes it, rotates this thing at 360 degrees. Now if you press play, you get this really trippy kind of, look for your character, which is really weird. And then I'll bring the distortion up some more. And we have this going. So it's really cool. Now let's go ahead and make the shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this right here. And then we're going to hit A to get all of the, we're going to go into edit mode, hit A to make all the faces selected. I'm going to go back to layout and we're going to make a vertex group. So we're going to do a weird kind of process, but we're going to be able to use a mask modifier to cut into our topology. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to subdivide my character once, and then I'm going to make a new vertex group in here. I'm going to click new. I'm going to double click it and call it mask, just so we can see it. And then we'll click assign. We'll assign that mask to this vertex group. So now let's go ahead and start. First, I'm going to go into the armature and hide this one. So we're only looking at this one right here. I'm going to go ahead and add in a vertex weight edit, and we're going to do a couple things here that's going to allow the mask to cut through. So we'll select our mask vertex group, group add, group remove, and then from linear, do custom curve and flip the curve upside down. So we'll do that, click a new texture, we'll click this button and go ahead. I'm going to get a clouds texture. We'll come back in a second, but now that we have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and add a mask modifier. And with this whole setup, we're manipulating our vertex group. So we'll select the mask vertex group in the mask modifier. We'll go back to the texture and we'll go ahead and go into the colors, add a color ramp, and bring in the white portion till it starts to cut into our mesh. And now it's doing that. I'm going to go ahead and bring the depth down to 0, play with my scale. So something like this might work. Maybe we'll give it a scale of 3 for now. Now we have this. Let's go ahead and add in another modifier. So I'm going to minimize these guys. So we've cut holes. Let's go ahead and smooth out our selection here. So we'll go to the smooth modifier and we'll take the repeat and bring up that smoothness so it's kind of ripped looking. We'll go ahead and get in a solidify, and I'll right click and shade flat. And then we'll give the solidify a negative value because we want it to be extruding out, not extruding in. So now we have this. If you press play, it is going to be really slow. So when it comes to adding your subdivision, keep it around here. It'll be fine. Later on, we're going to add a subdivision surface if you like, so you don't see how low poly this is. But for this character, it doesn't really matter because it's super, super stylized. All right, now that we have this going on, I'm going to go ahead and bring that other character piece back in. We'll go to rendered view, and then we need to add in a metallic material to this character. So we'll delete that, click new, make it a fairly dark material, and make it metallic. And then now if we go to rendered view, we have our interesting character already doing crazy stuff, weird stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and go back here to the texture and make it a little bit bigger. So let's go here to the vertex weight, do this, give it a scale of 4. All right, I like it like that. Let's go ahead and add in a area light. So shift A, go ahead, get the light area, and then we'll bring it up like this. And we'll play with that in a minute once we add in our volume. So we're going to add in a volume cube, and then we'll bring this up right here, scale it, Control A, apply scale. We'll go to shading, add in a new material, delete the principled, add in a volume, volume, principled volume, plug this into the surface, and then bring the density down. Don't plug it into the surface, plug it into the volume. And so now you'll see our volume start to work. Let's get our area light and make it kind of a blue, something like this, and then we'll bring up the strength of it. So now we have that. Let's go ahead and bring up the strength of our character, brightness here, doing that. And now he's working in that look right there. I'm gonna zoom my camera in, G, middle click, just for composition. And then now we have this going. What I'm gonna do is go into the camera settings, go to color management, make sure your color management is on very high contrast, so right there. And then I'm gonna bring my gamma down as well to add another layer of contrast in my scene to improve our look of the character. So that's how we have that. If you don't like how low poly, you can see the this first big character right here. So the shell, the moving shell. What you can do is add in a subdivision surface modifier. So I added my subsurf just like that. Now the last thing we need to do with this material is the problem with our composition is you can't really tell there's an edge. It doesn't really look that good of a character. I want to be able to see the rim of the character. So click on the character that has the metallic material on it, and we're going to add a layer weight. So we'll get a mix. We'll get a mix shader here. We'll get an emission. Plug the emission right here at the bottom, and then plug it into the to the shader. Now let's get in a color ramp, COL. Get the color ramp, plug that into the factor here, and get in a layer weight. Layer weight node, and use facing. What this is going to allow us to do is bring up the strength of our emission, and then bring the blend closer to the edge. We'll get the white portion here. We'll get the black portion of it and bring it something like this, and then bring up the strength of the layer weight. So now we can actually see the edge of our character. And then if I just click on this guy here, so I'm going to click on the this colorful material here, and I'm going to highlight them, Control C. Click on the other one, Control V. I'm going to hit G to move it down, and then plug that into the color of the emission so we can have a cohesive sort of color going on. Then I'm going to bring up the scale. I'm going to give it a scale of 1. That's actually too big, so we'll give it like 0.5. That looks good. And then we'll bring up the strength by quite a number. And then you go back, play with the layer weight till it's right here, just on the rim of our character. It's kind of like a rim light, essentially. And now we have our character all finished. So now our character is all finished. What I'm going to do is do a little bit of compositing. So I'm going to hit the render button here, see how it looks rendered. So here he is. I'm going to go ahead and use this rim light to do another cool effect. So we'll go here to compositing, click use nodes, Shift A, get a viewer node, plug that here, and then we'll get a glare, plug that there, and then we'll get streaks. We'll go down to just one streak and then make them go the other way. So I'm gonna give it 180, have them streak out that direction, and bring the fade up, bring the color module up, just to give that really cool smearing effect. And then to make this work when we export it, we'll plug the glare node into the composite, and we're all done here. Maybe bring the mix down just a little bit, just like that. I'm actually going to add some contrast as well. CON, some contrast, brightness contrast, and we'll bring the contrast to 10. And now we have a really cool look. And we'll go here to rendering, and this is our final result. And then you can just press play, see how he's animating. It looks really cool. It looks really trippy. And if you're bothered by how you can see the faces here, I went ahead and I added a subdivision surface. So if you bring your viewport to 1, it should go away from the view, and then have your render at, and put your render at 2. And then when you press render, it'll render out that smooth facing, and you have a really cool character. So there you go. That's how you make it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.